this was all circulating around the base, that a giant had been killed, but no one was supposed to talk about it.
I saw 3 long, bony fingers reach up underneath the door, curl up to grab it, and then disappear.
When he came over to me, dude, he slithered over to me.
And this giant comes out of the cave, and they're all frozen. And he starts running and firing at this giant. Well, the giant moves. He's got a spear in one hand, and he's running really fast and spears Dan and holds him up like this. Somebody yells, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. They basically decapitate him.
Got closer. When he got about 15 yards away from me, I raised that 12 gauge and I blowed his head off.
I feel something pulling at my leg, and I look over and there are 2 small gray entities pulling at me. And they're literally, I'm getting pulled off the bed.
I reached my hand into this bush and I touched air. Couldn't breathe and I couldn't move because I know I'm seeing a monster.
Yep. Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to The Confessionals. I am your host, Tony Merkel. Thank you for being here. If you've had an encounter or a story you'd like to share with me on the show, go ahead and shoot me an email. My email address is theconfessionals@theconfessionalspodcast.com. That's theconfessionals@theconfessionalspodcast.com. Or go to the website, theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the contact section, and you can reach me that way as well. Either way works for me, just get a hold of me. If you want more shows every week, on Thursdays, we release a bonus show to members only on the website. So if you want more shows on a weekly basis, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the join button, and become a member today. Now, this week we have a great show coming up. We have 2 interviews coming up on this show today. First off, we have Sandra coming on the show, and she's going to talk about her Hatman experience, where it's very unique, where you actually have somebody that had Hatman experience and actually spoke with it. Very interesting conversation I had with Sandra. And then we bring on Richard, who has just more of an uplifting story that he has, where he got connected with his long lost brother that really seemed to defy all odds, but it actually happened in the most ironic way. So I thought it'd be a good, fun interview to bring him on and have him talk and share that story and kind of lift up the spirits, hopefully. But anyways, let's get to this week's show right now. All right, today we got Sandra on the show. Sandra, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Tony?
Doing well. So, Sandra, you have a life of these paranormal experiences. You believe that you're being demonically attacked or spiritual. There's a lot of spiritual warfare going on in your life, but it all starts as a child when you were about 5 years old and you had a Hatman speak to you. Now, that's something that I find interesting because a lot of times I hear these Hatman stories, but I can't recall very often where I hear people say that actually spoke to them. So what happened?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because I have been listening to your show where the Hatman, people have said they've seen him, and I'm waiting for somebody to say that they've actually spoken to him, and I did. And what happened was when I was about 5 years old, I was being babysat and with a bunch of, there was like 4 little kids and a babysitter, and it was kind of like during those times where you had to either stay outside or play in the garage. So we were playing in the garage. I remember we were kind of like bouncing a ball around playing, and the babysitter was sitting there. And one of the girls that was with me said to our babysitter, "Can I go inside the house and get a drink of water?" And so she said, "Sure." So one of the little girls that I was being babysat with went inside the house to get a drink of water, came back out screaming, saying, "There's a ghost in the house. There's a ghost in the house." So what do? I run inside the house, and my brother followed me. So it was me and my brother. We ran inside the house, and this is like around 1970. So this is like during the time where everybody's curtains were like really thick with like the blackout material. So like the whole house, the inside of the house was kind of like blacked out. And I walked in the house, and there was a man standing there with a suit on, like the Shadow Man with the fedora. And he started yelling at my brother and I. He said, where the hell are those MFers that did this to me? And I remember standing there in shock. I think I was in shock. And so I also think at that point in time, I was trying to debunk it, believe it or not. I thought, who's playing a joke on us? Like, who's making up this fake ghost in the house? So I remember looking around, trying to figure out how they could do this, but it was impossible because the whole house, there was no way to cast a shadow because all the windows had blackout curtains on them and the house was dark. And this entity or Shadow Man was darker than everything. I could make out his clothes. I could make out his face. I saw his mouth moving. He kept asking, actually more and more aggressively. There was a lamp on the table that he knocked. My brother at this point ran out of the house. The lamp got knocked down at me, and he just kept screaming at me. He wanted to know where the guys were that had done this to him.
So what do you think that was about? I mean, where were the guys that did this to him? Are you talking about, like, do you think he was saying, I died, I was murdered, something like that?
Right. I think he said, my feeling was that he was murdered and he was in some sort of vengeance or revenge, stuck in some sort of revenge and trying to find out who these guys were that killed him. And once I stood there and realized that this wasn't a joke and that nobody was playing a joke on me, I ran back outside into the garage and I told the babysitter. She opened the door of the house and looked inside, screamed, pulled the door shut, and told all of us kids, get out of the garage, get out of the garage. And we all got out of the garage and stood in the street, and she ran, and for the rest of the day until our parents came back, we just literally walked around the neighborhood.
Wow.
So, that shadow guy, and I remember looking at my brother and going, did you see that? And he said, yeah. And later on in life, even up, he doesn't really talk about it. But it was a person who had been murdered, I thought, and was looking for the guys that did it to him.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, so the Hatman experience that people typically have is when they see this thing and it's standing there, it doesn't say anything. A lot of times they don't even describe it moving. But your experience is that it not only spoke, but it had character to it. Like there was a real purpose to its existence in front of you, and it was mad. Do you think that this was something different than the typical Hatman that people see, or do you think that this was, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I wonder sometimes, this is what I wonder. I wonder if people that see the Hatman are seeing the same entity, or are they seeing entities that look very similar as they all are wearing the hats, which is very, very interesting that you brought up the fedora as well. And so I don't know. I mean, what do you make of that?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing that when I sit back and I'm analytical about it now, I have to say it reminds me of, automatically I'm going to say like 1940s mafia kind of guy, that whole Goodfellas kind of, that's the feeling that I get from him. Like that's, and I don't, was there a lot of murder of these guys during that time, or is this just another one of these guys? That just is a style of outfit that they wore during that era? I don't know. But this guy definitely was murdered, and I was almost like he was trying to convey to me exactly how he was murdered. If I would have stayed longer. But I didn't, because he threw the lamp at me, so I figured that was enough.
Yeah, I would say so. Especially for a 5-year-old, I think it was. So yeah, that's enough. And so
that was.
You see this thing, but you mentioned in the email how it followed you, right? Like it followed you around from place to place.
Yeah. So it did follow me. So what happened was after that, I remember maybe a day or two later walking back by that house, because it was literally just around the corner from my house, and all of us kids played outside. So I walked by the house, and that particular house that I played in, that garage, caught on fire. And I was just little. I was 5, and I remember walking up to the house and seeing the entire house. The flames had already been put out by the fire department, and the entire house, the interior of the house was black. And I remember, oh no, oh no. Getting home that day, I mean, this is the best of my recollection. Getting home that day, going to bed that night, and he was in my room, standing on the wall. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere until you tell me where the guys are that did this to me. And I was like, oh no. Yeah. So, being little, I think you can probably imagine, like, the first thing I did was I'd jump out of bed and try to run to my parents' room because I was terrified. And I opened my bedroom door, and there was a man standing on the other side of my bedroom door. And this man was dressed in a cowboy outfit. And he's like, you're not going anywhere until you, deal with that. You're staying right where you are. You're not going through me to get to your parents. And then he said to me, he said, if you go through me, I just want you to know what kind of person I am. I'm the kind of person, and it was conveyed to me. I don't even know that necessarily, because my memory now is faded, that it was totally spoken to me, but he made it absolutely clear that if I walked through him to get to my parents' door, that he would hang me. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to be hung. And he explained to me how he was going to hang me. So I went back into my bedroom and shut the door. And then that has been a lifelong Hatman following me till this day. It's just been really difficult.
Well, yeah, I can imagine so. I mean, having something like that follow you around your entire life is, some people might think it's terrifying, but to me, it almost makes me feel more nerve-wracked. Like eventually, do you ever think about, are you am I going crazy or am I really seeing this all the time?
Right. So that's exactly what, I've had the opportunity since I'm not 5 years old anymore to, discuss that with my brother, about the shadow man at the initial, encounter, and then him confirming that for me, going, okay, so I didn't imagine that. And, I think what it did for me was it reinforced my faith, because I was growing up in a house where there was no faith in our house. And so I had another babysitter, because I never actually was able to go back to that house and be babysat because that house burnt down. And I'm not sure if the people moved or what happened. And I had a babysitter who took me behind my parents' back and had me baptized. And I talked to the priest. I was 5 and told him what had happened to me. And he reassured me that God was watching over me. And I think that the thing that it's done for me in my life is, now that I've seen that, I'm absolutely certain there's something else going on. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind there's something else going on. And if anything, it has reinforced my faith. And so now, if I have any funky feeling or if something's going to show up, I literally wear like an eye mask to bed because I don't want to see anything. And I pray before I go to bed, and I just, ask Jesus to watch over me while I sleep, and I'm okay now. I don't give it any power anymore during the night, but what transformed because of that, or what's been going on to me because of that up until recently, is so if I own anything that is like angelic or religious, those things get attacked in my house. So because I'm a Christian, and it seems like a lot of my Christian friends like to buy me Christian gifts, I started people would give me angels or stuff like that, and I liked that, and I thought it was kind of nice to have that in my house. And then those things, the angels, any angel that I've ever owned for the last 50 years, does not survive in my house. They get thrown across the floor and they get decapitated. So it's probably been, I'm going to round up to 100 ceramic angels that have been decapitated. It's just their heads chopped off. And so I stopped. I'm like, those don't come in my house anymore. And if I get them as gifts, I'm bummed, because I don't want to bring them in the house, because I don't want that thing to have any power over me or try to scare me or let me know it's still here. I want it to just be put in its place and to go away. So the ceramic angels are all gone. That's all out of my house now. And now it's, if I own a crucifix. So if I own a crucifix, my crucifixes are all decapitated. Jesus's head is chopped off of my crucifixes. And I'll be wearing it, and I'll have Jesus on there, and then I'll be going somewhere, doing something, and look down, and the head's gone.
While you're wearing it?
So while I'm wearing it.
Wow. And you don't feel anything? You don't know it until you look at it?
I look down at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't feel anything. I don't know anything. I look down. So what I did is that was like another thing that because I kind of like religious stuff. I like to look at it. I like to wear it. I have paintings in my house. I have paintings of crosses that survived, but no statues. All my crucifixes are decapitated. So, and I would buy vintage ones on eBay and stuff, and like to wear them. But now I just feel like when I walk, I can't walk around with a crucifix that has a decapitated Jesus on it. I just feel like it doesn't look right.
No, yeah, I mean, that's almost fighting for the other side. I mean, it's like, what are you, like what team are you on? So I totally get it. Honestly,
it's like, and it's sad because I've like if you go on eBay, you can buy like a lot, like they'll be like, there's like 30 crucifixes. So I'm like, oh, they're so cool. They're vintage and they're made out of glass, and buy them. But that's over now. That's gone too. So no religious stuff in my house now. When I get up in the middle of the night and I go out of my bed to go to the bathroom, I just pray to Jesus when I'm walking. I'm pretty strong. I know that the shadow man has no power over Jesus. And he knows that I know that. I could feel it that he knows that I know that. Because when I walk through the dark, I'm like, bring it. Bring it on. Bring it. Try to scare me. Try to do something to me. I've got Jesus. And it hasn't done that. It almost like I can feel it almost like kind of like seeping back into the corner of the wall. Like it just sort of decreases and goes away.
Well, that's a common thing that a lot of people say, right? I mean, so it seems like from what I've heard, now granted, I have very limited experience with such things. And people have heard the different stories that I've had throughout my life, but from the collective narrative that I've heard on the show and people telling me, it seems like those who have faith in Christ, when they claim that, these things back off. A couple times I've heard situations where it continues, but for the most part, it seems like these things back off. At least initially they back off. Sometimes they come back, but initially upon the declaration, it seems like these things back off.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I would agree with you. I think that as my faith has grown stronger, I'll sometimes I'll get growling. I'll hear growling in the room, and I'm just like, I've got Jesus, so I don't know. I'm not scared. And it's interesting because when I talk about, or if I've which I barely ever do talk about these experiences or this stuff that's going on with me, even my Christian friends are like, "You're not scared?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." I mean, if anything, I'm like, "Bring it." I mean, I feel strong in my faith, so none of this stuff doesn't scare me anymore. Break off my angel's head. I don't care. I'll pick it up, throw it in the trash, move along. I'm just not letting it bother me anymore. I'm over it. I'm done. Like, growl, throw things, do whatever you want to do, but I am not going to waver. You're not going to scare me and terrify me my whole life. I'm not going to do it. You don't get to do this to me. So, yeah, I feel like I've taken charge of it, and, I don't know, Tony, I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I really think that's good. Do you think that, based off of what you're saying, it sounds like you've experienced this your entire life, and do you expect it to just continue, because it seems like it's going to be it's on that course of just going throughout your entire life?
I'm going to say that my grandmother had this same thing, and so that's okay. So this is the irony in that. If we're going to touch on that, my daughter, who looks exactly like me, she sleeps with the lights on in her house, and she's not a Christian. And she said to me, "Mom, I see ghosts, and I can't have the dark in my house." So she sleeps with the lights on in her house till this day. Till last night, my daughter sleeps with the lights on in her room. So when I go to visit her, I have to wear a sleep mask because the lights are all on in the house and then in the bedrooms. And she's not a Christian, and she's terrified. So do I feel like that it's going to continue on? I don't know if it's jumping from me to her now. She's like, I see ghosts. I see shadow figures. There's black figures moving in my house. I cannot. And her house, Tony, is, they built that house. It's a custom house. It's not an old house they moved into. It's a brand new house in Southern California, right near the beach, totally mahalo environment over there. And she's got the lights on 24/7.
Yeah, and that's something that, happens a lot, right? I mean, we hear about people saying that they are living in a brand new house, and they have activity going on. And when I first heard those kind of things, actually the very first time I ever heard of something like that, I was a kid and I was watching one of those ghost shows, and they said that, you know, they built a brand new home and then it was haunted. I was like, oh my gosh, how is that possible? You know, I'm a little kid, you know, I was a weird kid. I liked watching ghost shows. But, you know, as you get older and you hear about these different stories, you're thinking, well, then there's clearly more to it than it's an old house. And so, you know, it seems like people can be haunted. I believe that. I believe people can be haunted. And maybe your daughter is starting to experience that.
I think so. I mean, not only think so, I know so. And then, you know, talking to my mother, because it skipped my mom, but my mother said that and I know this for a fact because my grandmother, I had a very close relationship to, and my grandmother has sleep disorder because she couldn't sleep at night because she saw spirits. And so further inquiring mind, just like you, I just recently called my mom because I knew I was going to talk to you. And I said, Mom, you know, like, did something happen to Nana when, like, what happened to her? Did she have this problem her whole life where she saw spirits? And then she told me that my grandmother, who was a single mom raising 3 kids, was dating this young man, and they lived in Mexico, was dating this young man, and she was, like I said, a single mother of 3 kids, and the young man wanted to marry my grandmother. And the family of that young man, who my mom believes were in that Sandinista, that Hispanic kind of voodoo stuff, came to my grandmother's house and told my grandmother, if you see this man, if you see our son again, we are going to curse you. So my mom said that after my grandmother, they threatened to curse my grandmother. She didn't believe them. She continued to see their son. And then maybe within a week, they came home one day and the roof of their house had crows all over it. And my mom says that she remembers my grandmother pouring salt all around the house and being like, I'm never going to see this guy again. Oh my God, that's it. Never again. And I don't even know if that's where it started, but I know that happened. And my mom witnessed that. And she could talk on that. And I don't know if that's where it started and it's continued. I don't know. It's crazy. You just don't know. But that happened to my grandmother is, and that I look just like her. I mean, literally now that we have this COVID lockdown and I haven't been able to do my hair or do anything with myself.
Come on.
I remember I walked into the bathroom yesterday morning and looked in the mirror and I went, oh, hi, Nana.
Oh, man.
So, and my daughter also looks like my grandmother. And all 3 of us are sensitive. It's just that my daughter's not a Christian, so she's just sleeping with the lights on.
Well, and that you just went where I was going to go with this, because I was thinking, like, could there be some kind of generational curse or something that was passed on? And it sounds like there might have been.
There might have been.
Case solved.
All right, well then move along. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, I mean, in that case and stuff, I mean, people ask me sometimes, you know, like, what should I do? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I could sit here and tell you things that I've read it online. I could Google it. I could, you know, tell you what I've heard other people do and bring a witch doctor in or sage the house, this, that stuff. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
No, I don't, and I don't even need to ask you what to do. I've solved this. I'm fine, Tony.
Right.
I mean, I totally believe in God. I totally believe that Jesus is, I mean, all I have to do is think about him and I feel covered. And I talked to my daughter about that and she's like, Mom, you know, I'm only 30 And, I'll be religious later on in life. No. So, she knows that I've got a handle on this and that she doesn't. And she knows where I go to with this. But I mean, honestly, if this guy was standing here right now next to me, I wouldn't flinch. I'm fine. I don't need anybody to come in the house. I've got God, and I feel like he's got me. And what I now need to do is impress on my daughter how much relief that gives me and how I can sleep in the dark, and no matter what comes up to me.
This week's show, which is feels. We've talked about them before, and we're going to talk about them again because I think it's time to shake off the taboo feeling of CBD oil. It does great work for so many people. If you're feeling stress, anxiety, chronic pain, or having trouble to sleep once or twice a week, Feels and CBD oils are great for you. You're not alone in these struggles, and these kind of products can definitely help you out. Feels is a CBD delivered directly to your doorstep. It naturally helps reduce stress, anxiety, pain, sleeplessness. Lots of great benefits to Feels. Place a few drops of Feels under your tongue and feel the difference within minutes. The thing to remember about CBD is that finding your right dose is important, so leave room for experiment over the course of a week or so. And if you're looking for help and you're new to the whole CBD thing, Feels is great because they actually have a customer support line where if you need help, Feels will offer a free CBD hotline to help guide your personal experience with people who actually know what they're talking about. Feels naturally helps to make you Richard, how you doing, man?
Hey, Tony.
Hey, man. So listen, I got your email here, and it's actually a change of pace from what we usually have on the show. So usually, it's the scarier, the better, the spookiness and all that stuff. But your story, when I read about it in the email, though it's short, I think that it's something worth talking about just because, I don't know, when I read it, I felt really encouraged, and I felt like it was a happy email, and I wanted to share the happy email with the audience. So you have an experience that you want to share with us, so I'm just going to let you take it away. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, sure. In 1980, when I was 8 years old, I was visiting with my father, and I only really saw him about once a year. And he dropped a bombshell on me by mentioning that I have two older half-brothers. And my jaw dropped. I never knew that. And I asked about them, and he just said, well, their names are Stephen and Derek. And, I asked how old they were and stuff, and he really, to be honest, he hadn't seen them in years. So that was 1980, and I put it always, and it was always in the back burner of my mind. And all through the 80s, especially in high school, starting around 1986, 7, I wondered about my brothers, and it just kept bugging me. And what they look like, what kind of music they listen to, what kind of movies, and just everything. So I remember walking down the street with the boombox and cassette tape playing and my mullet, wondering, what they look like. So that was about late 80s. 1992, 93, I reconnected with my father's mother. And mind you, there was a 7-year period I didn't even see my father. And I probably saw him once a year, if at best. So about 1992, I saw his mom, my grandmother, and I was just talking to her and asked her about my older brothers. And she said, oh, yeah, I haven't seen them in years either. I know. And I asked her what their last name was. Maybe I could look them up in the phone book. And she told me, well, it's not the same last name as you. They changed their last name to their adoptive stepfather. I said, okay, what's that? What's their last name? And she said, Jaffreys. So in my mind, I'm looking for Stephen and Derek Jaffreys. And for some reason, I always focused in my mind more on Stephen. Don't know why. He was the second one born. And that was 92, 93. And I looked in the phone book for him. I never found him. And just kind of, again, put it in the back burner of my mind. But it was that one haunting mystery that I just wanted solved. And then fast forward to probably 1999, I started going to church and became a Christian. I even got baptized in 2002 at 30 years old, and faithfully just went to church twice a week for about 12 years. During that time, I started working at a company, and I started the company in 2002 also. I worked there for a few years, and you're not going to believe this, but I realized I'd been working with my long-lost half-brother for 3 years at the same company. Now, what are the odds of that happening? I lived 31 miles away. What are the odds? Not only that, but out of 40 trucks in the back parking lot, we were parked next to each other. He was Route 37, I was Route 39.
Wow.
And out of 5 teams of managers, we were on the same team for 3 years. And I didn't even realize he was my brother, and I saw him every day. Now, the moment I'll never forget as long as I live, that it dawned on me that he was my brother. Because mind you, he changed his last name, and my grandmother had told me his name's Stephen Jaffries. The guy I worked with, his name was Steve Jaffe. So my grandmother might have thrown me a curveball. I don't know. But I'll never forget where I was when it dawned on me he was my brother. He was in the same room with me. There was about 5 or 6 other guys. I'm separating my paperwork for the day at the desk, and I feel 2 taps on my right shoulder. Nobody was behind me. And then right after that, somebody said the word Jaffe to call him over, and I looked at him, and my jaw dropped. All this within 2-3 seconds. I went, wait a second, that guy's got the same build as my father and the same shuffle, can't stand still. Same color eye. So I went, oh my God. Now, mind you, I'm on fire for God at this time. I was in the middle of going to church, just got baptized a couple of years earlier. He goes into the cafeteria in the next room. I follow him. I go, Steve, do you have any brothers? He goes, yeah, I got a brother, Derek, and a half-brother, Joel. I went, do you know who your father is? He said, nah, not really. I know he's got the same last name as you. I went, oh my God, Steve, you're my half-brother. He goes, get out of here. My father was a state trooper. I go, yeah, and a Marine in Vietnam. He went, oh my God. And I pointed to the ceiling, the sky, and I said, this is a divine appointment. Holy cow.
Wow. So you have this experience where you had this aha moment, and all of a sudden you realize that you've been working with your brother. Was there any point in time in that brief experience where you kind of halted the brakes and said to yourself, should I talk to him about this? Do you think does he think that this is going to be weird or anything like that? Or was it just like, I got to talk to him?
The 3 years we worked together, before it dawned on me he was my half brother, it just never. And the funny, ironic thing, God must have been looking down on us, laughing, because we rode together on the same truck for some sort of training one day, not 6 months before this occurred. And I remember, he kind of annoyed me. He was like that mascot of the company, and he we pulled over. He needed to get a cashier's check, and it took 20 minutes. And then he comes out of the bank. I'm like, dude. And at that time, here we are riding together in the same truck on a route. At the time, didn't even know he was my brother. God must have been looking down on us, just laughing, going, really? That's really it for that.
Yeah. Well, man, listen, I think it's a really encouraging thing, and I think it's kind of cool too. And if you don't mind, I'll share a story with you. I'm sitting here thinking about my experience as you're telling me this. So my dad isn't my biological father. And back in 2009, I wasn't the most healthy individual as far as my mental state of mind. I was going through a lot of issues and trying to figure out who I was in the world. And I decided that I was going to try finding my biological father and meet him for the first time, just to kind of see if it fills any holes in my life. As far as like, I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was more looking for, do I look like him? What am I going to die from? Things like that, because I had a dad and I was very happy with my father. But I found this guy and I find out that something that I didn't really realize, which was that I had siblings on that side that I never thought about. Like it never crossed my mind that I could have siblings.
Wow.
And so within like the first 12 hours of locating one of his ex-wives' email address, she's inviting me and my wife up for dinner that night. And so I'm Tony, I do things. So I just went up and I met her and I met my youngest brother, Danny. And from there started a roller coaster of meeting all my other siblings. Well, when I met my brother and sister, Donnie and Danielle, they're twins. And when I was talking with them, we were talking about the area and how I had used to live in the area as well when I was younger. And we connected dots that my grandfather was their school bus driver for years. And it was just like, wow. Wow.
It's like synchronicity.
Yeah. And so it was kind of cool in that sense. But yeah, man, listen, when you had felt that tap on your shoulder, do you think that if that tap didn't happen, you wouldn't have been alert enough to kind of have that aha moment?
I never thought of it that way. I'll still testify to this day. There was nobody behind me. And it never happened before again in my life. It had to have been an angel. As crazy as that sounds, I've had a lot of synchronicities in my life. Excuse me. So I would call them mini miracles or whatever. But those two taps on my shoulder was just a wow. Like, and you're right, it probably snapped me out of whatever I was doing. Just distracted me enough to hear somebody call Jaffe over. And I looked at him and it was just a divine appointment, really.
Yeah. I don't think it was a curveball that was intentionally thrown your way by your grandmother. She probably just got the names wrong. She's an older woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's actually more to the story since I first contacted you, Tony.
Okay.
To meet up and talk about this. My half brother Steve ended up leaving the company about 3 years ago, and we never really kept in contact. But we had a mutual friend that I worked with, and I got updates on him. My half brother passed away in October. Yeah. So, I just thank God for giving me that chance to meet him.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, thank you.
How long did you know him?
We worked together for, I want to say, 12, 13 years. And he would ask me, he's like, what's our father's problem? And the only thing I could say to him is, Steve, he has nothing to offer. I haven't seen him in 20 years. And he asked me that a few times over that period of time. But the one good thing, being a Christian, and I try to pick his brain about his faith. He didn't have any. And I gave him the prayer of salvation, a little track that I used to carry around, and asked him a few days later if he said the prayer, and he said he did. So I truly believe he's in a better place.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. I mean, you talk about divine appointments. Maybe that a divine appointment years ago was for that very moment,
Yeah, I agree.
As somebody else who's a Christian and stuff, God, as I believe him to be, is omnipresent, which means that he can be in the past, present, and future all at one time. He knows when we're going to die, how we're going to die, and he also knows what makes us tick and what circumstances and environment would be best for us to come to acknowledgement of him. And maybe you, being the brother, was that mixture that God needed. And you just kind of walked that path and did what you felt like you should. And clearly it was a good decision to make.
Oh, absolutely. When that happened, it was 2006 that happened. It crystallized my faith. Now, I haven't gone to church in about 7 years now, but with this whole pandemic, if you want to be honest, that's...
Are you trying to get my show taken down?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I want to find a church again because the church in general is being attacked and Christians and I'm pissed. I'm sorry, but
I left the church myself. I'd say probably about 3 years ago, and I left because I just needed my space to clear my head as far as how I felt the American church in general was treating God and their faith.
Yep.
I just didn't feel like people were serious in the sense that they just wanted the cupcake stuff. They wanted to feel good about themselves, and that was it. And that's not really faith. And so I kind of pushed back and I said, you know what? I'm done with this nonsense. I don't need you guys to be a Christian. I don't need you guys to, pursue God, which is true. That's all true. But one thing that I did grossly underestimate was the relationship side of things. I suffered greatly over the last year to year and a half spiritually because I didn't have that connection with other believers. And though my faith was strong and though I know who I am in my faith, I didn't have the reinforcement of others that are like-minded in my life that could kind of strengthen me in the sense of not faith, but just like community. There's something to be said for being around people who think like you do and sharpen your thoughts with their own, and vice versa. And in these times that we're living in, I'll tell you, I had a conversation with the pastor, one of the pastors of the church I used to go to probably about 2-3 weeks ago. It was about 5:30 in the morning. He called me because I get up at 4:00 in the morning to work on the podcast and stuff. So I told him, I said, you can call me anytime in the morning. He calls me and we talked for about an hour. And, I was just telling him kind of what I just told you. And, I said to him, I think, for my sake and my family's sake, I need to get plugged into a church environment. And I've basically said what I just said to you. But I kind of feel where you're coming from on that one too, because with everything that's going on in the world, it kind of, on a spiritual level for me, has affected me in a sense where it kind of it awakened something inside of me. And I'm realizing that the times that we talk about coming down the road, the things that we read about in the Bible, for the first time in my life. Now, I know every generation of Christian has said, I can't imagine the world getting worse. The Lord's coming back in my lifetime, and they have come and gone. But I can just say it like this. For the very first time in my life, I actually feel like that.
The chess pieces are in place, yes.
Yeah, I think they're being positioned and put in place, and it may not happen in my lifetime, but this is the very first time in my life that I feel the way others have felt in the past, where I can't imagine it getting any worse. Well, I can, because I'm a futurist, so I envision futures, and I really I dig into this stuff. But I think what I envision the future being and getting worse, I think it can happen in my lifetime. So yeah,
I agree. Things just happen so much quicker now because of the internet, and it's alarming. These statues being taken down, like, really? Nobody's stopping them? It's almost like history is being erased. And I could get going, and it's probably time for another podcast, but there's just the whole deep state thing just is mind-boggling. And I know a lot of people in the last few months that have taken the red pill because there was so much downtime, and they woke up. I'm reconnected with people I haven't seen in 30 years online, and it's just It's amazing. It's like you said, a community, whether it's a church or people like us and your listeners, that we're all cut from the same cloth. And that's why I wanted to give this testimony, to hopefully give somebody out there, at least one person. I'd be blessed. It gives them some hope, because it was a miracle what happened to me, and that's why I'm sharing it, just to give some people hope.
Yeah, and I think you did do that. I mean, I think just the idea of what you presented, I think, gives people hope. And you know, you mentioned about the red pill and people taking it. You're absolutely right. I think this is something that they misinterpreted and misunderstood. Because what happens when you lock everybody down in the middle of you pulling the fleece over their eyes? You give them time to think about things, and you give them time to look into things and start thinking for themselves. And so what you have is an entire world of people who they wake up in the morning, they go to work for 8 to 12 hours a day, they're distracted at work, then they come home and they turn on the nightly manipulation programming through propaganda media, they get their dosage of the day, they go to sleep, and they wake up the next day and do the same thing. Well, when you take their jobs away, where there's 8 to 12 hours of free time a day for them, they aren't going to plug into the propaganda all day long, and it's going to give them more time to detox their brain. And all of a sudden they start thinking for themselves, and people are starting to wake up. I've seen it myself. A lot of people are waking up. I have friends who thought I was crazy 3 years ago. Now they're like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Yeah. Stock up on food. You know, I'm starting to do that. 3 to 6 months worth of food that'll last a few years. You just never know, because this hit us so fast, and in 3 weeks, life changed.
Yeah, you know, and that's why I offer what I offer through the show and stuff. For a while, I didn't talk about it because, you know, people get nasty online. And the first time I posted about my partnership with My Patriot Supply, people got nasty.
Oh my God.
Not a ton of people, but enough that I was like, you know what? If you guys don't appreciate something nice I'm trying to do for everybody, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to subject myself to this nasty attitude from you. And so I didn't talk about it on the show or anything. But, you know, we're in times now where I'm looking around like, you know what? One, I can take it. Okay, I can take it. You can think what you want of me. And two, I don't think it's a time to hold back opportunity for people to stock up on things that are actually made for emergency preparedness.
Exactly.
And so, you know, preparewiththeconfessionals.com. Anybody can go there, preparewiththeconfessionals.com, and you can buy 2 weeks or 4 weeks worth of food supply. It comes in a black 5-gallon bucket, which is obviously reusable for other things. And the stuff lasts up to 25 years. So, I mean, I'm just talking about it because it's worth talking about. And I think that people should know that they should start preparing, like you said, because the world is crazy right now. And, you know, when you start seeing people who are anti-gun going out and buying guns in droves, you know things are going downhill big time.
Yeah, I don't get that either. You know, they want to defund the police, and yet they're also anti-gun. How are you going to protect yourself?
Well, some of them aren't anymore. Some of them aren't because, you know, people are calling and saying to their friends, hey, can I borrow a gun? No, that's not how this works. You can't just borrow a gun. But hey, Richard, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the show and just chatting with me a little bit, man.
Hey, no problem. It's a pleasure just talking to you. I've been a fan for at least a year and a half.
Well, that's the show, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, please share the show with your friends. That's the best thing you can do to help the show grow, is just share it around and share it with your friends and family. Because if you enjoy the show, I'm sure they'll enjoy it as well, because they like you and you like the show. So it's the common denominator. And in the spirit of the Hatman story that Sandra shared today, I'd like to just let you guys know that we do offer beard oils on the website. Go to the website, theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the store page, and you'll see there's beard oils in there that you can purchase. And one of the beard oils that we offer is Hatman. And it's a really good scent. I wear it quite frequently, and I figured I'd share it with you guys and remind you that we do offer the beard oils there on the website. And until next week, friends, stay safe, take care, and remember, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Bye.
this feeling, probably like you. I'm just drifting, probably right beside you. All the abyss, control from afar. What did we miss? Now we're left with the scars.
We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this glow, it's hard to hide.
It's bright.
We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this dark, it's hard to find.
It's bright.
Everybody wanna preach a happy median. I see they dopamine fix come from media. Now your spirit getting booked on Expedia. Soul searching like Long Island Medium. I should've been taught. Sleepwalk through life, but being woke is an insult. They should've been caught. They wanna flood it in fear by drowning us on the asphalt. We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this glow, it's hard to hide.
It's bright.
We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this dark, it's hard to find.
It's bright. Masking from elites, got us attaching what is free. Now we're rationing our needs for our souls.
Yeah, we're not fasting from belief. The smell of Sharpies right the streets, looting liabilities like it's gold.
Atomic number 79, Gucci, Prada, Jordan High. Sniff that line, it's on the house till you're sold.
The ones that keep us locked for the felony time, or the ones that fund the dollars for the BLM sign. Y'all ain't really doing what y'all supposed to. Y'all just follow suit like the rest do. Oh, yeah. We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this glow, it's hard to hide.
It's bright.
We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this dark, it's hard to find.
It's bright. Is the other side of the sun. It's bright. We
love the Lord.